The Cyber Loyalist, bridging the gap between cutting edge tech, science fiction, and pop culture to unravel how today's innovations shape our world and predict tomorrow's possibilities. Join GU and Data Streamer as they dissect the philosophies behind cyberpunk aesthetics, anime narratives, and gaming worlds to see what they reveal about our future. Like and subscribe now and get ready to explore the intersection of reality and sci-fi. The Cyber Loyalist, online now.
My name is Giu, and I'm here today with Data Streamer.
Hi.
Data Streamer, Gorn, unalived,
Terrible.
flatlined, backspace.
Terrible.
Nowadays, censorship, right?
Yeah, that's pretty funny stuff. It's modern day self censorship, actually, as well.
Yeah,
Yeah, self censorship.
it's
Nobody's
actually,
telling anybody.
but it actually grew from users or people themselves, right?
Yeah, nobody's telling anybody to do anything explicitly, anyways.
Explicitly. However,
Yeah,
people
there's
know, due to
yeah,
algorithm, in favor
yeah,
of the algorithm, a
yeah, the
a power,
yeah,
an unseen power,
yeah, the
force.
almighty algorithm. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. It's it's pretty crazy how this whole thing developed. Um, because it's when you look at Cyberpunk in the past. I mean, of course, they didn't they usually didn't predict social media because the concept wasn't even a thing at any kind of way. I mean, the best they had was BB nets, those bulletin boards. That's the best they had, and maybe mailing lists. But that's also the funny thing is that that's like when you look at cyberpunk media, it's usually that kind of stuff. They talk about forums. They talk about like those kinds of like in Cyberpunk 2077. They talk about scream sheets in a lot of these. It goes to the shell. They talk about BB nets. They talk about chat rooms, those kinds of things. But Web 2.0, what they call it, what social media does not exist in most cyberpunk literature. So this kind of self censorship was not really a thing that was covered in exactly that way. But but we can still like you know connect it to cyberpunk corpo behavior in a slightly different way. But it still kind of falls in line within the whole cyberpunk corpo strategy style behavior.
I mean, in one way, of course, I understand in the way it sometimes certain words for listeners may be offensive, as in we don't know the past of each person, why people can get triggered.
Yeah,
I also understand it's regarding SEO in order to, don't use the wrong words you want to be affiliated with
yeah. There's like
your content. Yeah.
yeah, it's like on websites, it's like SEO stuff, and like on video content, it's like the algorithm flags, listens to videos, listens to the words used, and they flag videos in certain categories, and depending on the category, it could be detrimental to your online presence. That that kind of stuff. So that's like that's what people are weary about.
Yeah.
That's like a big thing these days. That's why you
So
see these words. you know,
so this form of censorship, okay, regarding Corpo, what is your experience or point of view regarding the cyberpunk literature from the past?
yeah. Usually, like I said before, they didn't have like social media stuff.
Uh-huh.
So um, the closest way you can connect it to the cyberpunk is that the corpos in those most of those stories had like corpo cops to censor protests. or speech in all kinds of ways. You see this manifest in all these stories. There's always some kind of protest that is being, how do I say it? That they beat down violently. So they like the cops just sweep up everybody and whatever. That happens in a lot of these shows and movies and books. That's very common. So you could, I mean, it's not like an exactly direct comparison, but you can extrapolate the behavior. If these people, if these corpos at the time of the writing, if social media would exist, this type of social media censorship would be in those books, 100%. I guarantee you. And I'm pretty sure it's also in the books, in modern cyberpunk books. I'm not really up to date on the modern stuff, but I'm pretty sure somebody has put this stuff in there. And of course, you have like 1984, which literally has newspeak. Newspeak,
Oh, right,
you
with
know,
Big Brother, right?
we asked with Big Brother. Literally, it's not. I mean, it's not really part of like cyberpunk canon. But I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it is kind of like a proto cyberpunk story. Before the aesthetic got, you know,
Neon.
uh, yeah, before the neon.
Yeah.
That's a good way to say it. Before it got kind of fleshed out into exactly what it was. You had like these kinds of noir, detective noir, and slash kind of like Brazil. Brazil is another good one. That movie Brazil. These movies about government overreach, but those movies were about government overreach.
Yeah.
Um, Cyberpunk tends to be about corpo overreach. But although Japanese cyberpunk has government overreach, as we already talked about in the previous episode, but still, it's about the censorship of word. And 1984 is kind of the closest we have in literature to the kind of thing that we're seeing, except that the difference is that in 1984 it's the government imposing the newspeak on people, and newspeak is pretty much a memory hole. They call it memory holding, but in memory hole they like remove all information on a certain subject and act like it never existed. Um, and they change words around, they change the meaning of words and that kind of stuff. They do that
Wow.
in 1984. But in the modern context, when you say self censorship, people are just willingly changing how they use words and which words they use because they don't want to get in trouble.
I just realized something.
Yeah,
Big Brother is the algorithm force, man.
yeah, yeah. Actually, yeah, yeah. The big almighty, because if Big Brother in 1984 is pretty much just because if the book is written like in the 1940s. And the guy had like this idea of this massive army of like what do you call it? What do you call it? I forgot the word. This massive army of like government employees. Yeah, exactly. Government employees that like do all this censorship and this craziness and blah blah. And but now we just have the algorithm, and the almighty algorithm determines so much online. It's insane. It pretty much gives you the life you have online if you're like a famous content creator or whatever, and it could pretty much destroy you because if you make a wrong move or whatever, suddenly your algorithm goes bad, and then like you get into this algorithmic death spiral where you keep losing subs every day or whatever. That kind of stuff happens as well. So
So
people
that's
are
where
very
it,
wary.
yeah,
Yeah,
and that's where it starts, right? As in,
yeah,
you just don't want this to be a thing for yourself.
yeah,
So you keep, so you just be a good guy. You behave
yeah,
in order to keep up with your algorithm, to
yeah,
just be able to stay able produce your content.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's like and it's pretty. It's kind of like a soft power because nobody's actually telling you. You could say all the words you want. I mean, nobody's stopping you. You can just do it. Like who cares? Whatever. Just go on there, just rant and scream and whatever. Just say whatever the hell. I mean, as long as you're not like saying violent stuff like asking for people to commit some acts or whatever, you're fine.
Hmm.
That kind of stuff. You know. But even then, like people don't want to because if you say certain things, you get put into certain categories by the algorithm, and that affects the way you know your that affects your standing with the algorithm, which then affects your possible revenue from the content you're making. So that's like when it comes to like a direct cyberpunk comparison, there really isn't any because this system we have now did not exist in any way. Well, okay, maybe in a certain way, like with news reports, like with how the news gets censored, and they don't want to lose their access to certain individuals or companies, so they don't report the news in the correct way about those companies, or they omit certain things, or they flat out lie. That happens in cyberpunk stories all the time. The news media is bought by the corpos, and they're just puppets. So that's also not a comparison, but that's also happens in real life. So that it's not really a cyberpunk thing, as they say. So it's something that happens in real life as well. But the current situation is pretty much unprecedented because it's happening to individuals online, and nobody is actually telling them explicitly to do it. They're just doing it on their own. you know, because
Yeah.
maybe who you never know. It's almost religious. It's pretty hilarious. It's almost like religious, like how how God, like
Yeah.
people stay nice and pious because you never know God is watching. God sees all. That kind of stuff. It's pretty weird. You know.
So yeah, in cyberpunk stories, these big corpos they overrun. Okay, in the Western media, right? They overrun the government. Overrun.
Yeah, a lot of
They have more
times.
power,
Uh,
even though
they
the
have a lot of
government
power.
still, even though the government still exists.
Yeah, they have a lot of power. But I mean, a lot of times they work with the government at the same time. Most of the time, they work with the government to maintain the power. So it's like this dynamic. So you could call it fascism then at that point, because government and corporations working to oppress the population. That's fascism. So there's a lot of fascism there. That's how the censorship develops in a lot of those states, because the corpos get power from the government to execute these things. But then the corpos take too much power, and the government suddenly becomes weak because the government can't handle the corporal power. That kind of stuff. So it's not just like a Western thing. It's like a Chinese thing as well. We see like with TikTok, or at least Asian anyway. So I mean, the TikTok being Chinese company or whatever. That's not really the point. It's more like an Asian thing, um, and they also censor in their own way what's on the thing. Although TikTok is generally free, Western style freedom, the corpo is still fairly powerful, and the algorithm is very strong on TikTok. So it can do things. It can put you in categories that like completely destroy everything. So that's basically like the hilarious thing is that basically every single website does this thing. You can't escape it. It's everywhere. It's like you cannot. So what happens, because you cannot escape it, you can't get rid of it. Every website, doesn't matter where it's from. You have a website from Japan, you have a website from China, you have a America, you whatever. They all do this algorithm thing, and they're all different algorithms. So you have to like figure out what they all do, because in China you can't say whatever, and in the US you can say it, and Japan is this other thing, and blah blah. Europe is this other thing, and it's like this crazy weird thing. And then what happens is when you look at online content, suddenly you see a short video and a significant part of the audio is bleeped out. I just saw one yesterday. It's hilarious. It's like a 2 minute short, and it's like every time, every few seconds, it's like beep, that bleep. I was like, this is unwatchable. you know, it's so weird to see. Uh, at that point, I'm thinking like, okay, why do you even use those words if you're gonna be doing this crazy? Because I mean, of course, they made the short from a live stream.
Right.
So on the live stream, they're just talking. But then the short is like completely heavily censored because apparently the way the YouTube algorithm works, because it only looks at the first couple of minutes, and if it's a short, it's like the whole video, and then you have to like remove all the. It's like, what are you do? What are we doing? It's so weird. It's so I don't. It's the behavior is really odd. You know.
Can we say that the Matrix, the
hmm
agent,
Yeah.
is also this force?
Mm, I haven't heard that one before, but that's a good one actually. Yeah, the agent in the Matrix. Yeah, you could say that it's like the algorithm coming to censor you.
Right?
That's a good one. Yeah,
Because Neo is
yeah, yeah.
the yeah.
Neo is like the the online guy who just wants to who just wants to insult everybody. The freaking troll. Let's get it. And the algorithm's coming after him. Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
you know. So it's like, yeah, you could say, yeah, that's a good one. I haven't heard that one before, but that's a good one, yeah. Because it doesn't allow you to do whatever. It doesn't allow you to say certain words, certain things, and it could take over. I mean, it could like completely remove you from the entire matrix if they want to. They pretty much banning you. You can get banned on the matrix.
And kick ass.
Banning on the matrix. Yeah, you ban on matrix, you get flushed down the toilet. Like what happened to Neo. So yeah, it's yeah, that's actually a good one. It behaves also as the algorithm because they're everywhere. The agents are completely like they just show up, and then you're surrounded, and it's over. The algorithm suddenly strikes, and you're like you have no idea what's going on. It's like, oh my god, because people that's how you see it online as well. People like wake up, they go to sleep, they upload their last video, they go to bed, then they wake up, their DMs are flooded, they they have their they have like notifications going crazy, and then they see that their account is suspended or some shit. And it's like, what's going on? I can't believe it. And it's like, oh shit, the algorithm got him. It's like it's over. That
I mean,
kind of stuff.
people are even talking about being blue pilled or red pilled.
Yeah, they talk about that. Yeah, there's that whole concept online about the red pill and the blue pill. I mean, used in a different way than they meant in the Matrix, of course. But I mean, online discourse evolves in whatever direction it evolves into. But yeah, it's there are some similarities here and there with a lot of with what happened in the Matrix. Of course, it's being the whole idea of the Matrix coming for you is being used by certain communities as well online. Um, but not in the way we're talking about. This is more like, let me say, more a more direct comparison that there's actually some people coming after you, like the agents would, that kind of stuff. But that's like, you know, this whole thing that's like not really a cyberpunk thing. That's more like their whole that entire community, has this idea. But I mean, I mean, it just shows that cyberpunk influence is all over the place. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, we could put the cyberpunk label in Matrix as well.
Oh yes, of course. It's a cyberpunk story, definitely. It's like one of the last big Western, or actually, that is the last big Western cyberpunk story before the genre kind of went into hibernation for a few years, more than 10 years hibernation. After that, it got revived by Blade Runner again,
Wait,
Blade Runner 2049.
is that the first one? The first Blade Runner
No, no,
or the
no,
second? The
the
second one.
second, yeah, the one with Gosling, Ryan Gosling,
Right, but the
Ryan
first
Gosling, Ryan
because
Gosling.
the
First one
first
was from like
Blade
1982
Runner,
or something.
yeah,
Yeah,
and we can say that it is the essential of cyberpunk
yeah. It gave
for
it
Western, yeah,
gave the yeah it gave it gave the genre its visual aesthetic. Before that, it was kind of described, and but didn't people didn't really have a like a good idea of what it visually looked like until Blade Runner came, and then they gave it the visual aesthetic. Yeah. So yeah, it's pretty much the visually the basis for a lot of most of the cyberpunk after that. You know, and I mean the genre was like in a hiatus after the Matrix. The genre was like in a complete hiatus for or hibernation for like more than 10 years. I mean, Blade Runner 2049 what came out in what 2016, 2017, something like that.
oh yeah,
You know, so it's like it took a while to, and then you had like the revival, the video game revival of Cyberpunk when the Cyberpunk 2077 came back. Suddenly there was a lot of Cyberpunk games coming out, indie games and other games, and a lot of games that took the aesthetic. You know,
yeah, and a lot of
it kind of came
like
back.
other ways of media as well because when you go on YouTube, there's so many cyberpunk-ish music.
Yeah,
It's so interesting that the music evolved around it as well. It
yeah,
provides, and even if you listen to that kind of music, you do get the feeling that it really sounds cyberpunk. Even if you
yeah,
never saw something cyberpunk, imagine
yeah,
I'm a mid-aged boomer or something, and I came across this cyberpunk track or mix,
yeah.
you can say, oh, this sounds cyberpunk,
Yeah, exactly. There's a,
and that's so
the
cool.
cyberpunk. Yeah, the cyberpunk music genre kind of started developing at the late 2010s, like 2018, 2019, and it indeed it developed fairly well, and it's a pretty established aesthetic. And I'm actually surprised how it developed.
So many
I really have no
pictures.
idea. It just came out of nowhere, and it just it just happened. So there's a lot of like cultural influence of cyberpunk, and we could see it everywhere. And but of course, to bring it back to the discussion, we also see all the things cyberpunk talks about in our daily lives as well. So like we just said, with like the corpo algorithms taking over the discourse and like forcing people softly forcing people to, change the way they speak and change the way they behave, so that it's more, corpo friendly, as they say, like what you see with like happening with Twitter, for example, or X. I still call it Twitter. I'm like, oh, X, whatever,
Yeah.
X. It's just so whatever. It's weird. Anyways, but yeah, but with X, Twitter X, they
X Meta and YouTube.
yeah yeah you see the corpo censorship. But the thing is, these corpos, they want to make money, and how do they make money? They make money through advertisements. And the thing is that they think, or in a lot of ways, they've been told directly as well, but they think that the advertisers don't want these weirdos, these these riffraff or whatever, these aggressive people on the internet talking crap. They want to have a nice little place where they can, um, advertise their corpo wares to sell as much as possible. And so if suddenly their video is connected to some guy screaming and insulting people, and then their ad plays, they're afraid that their ad gets, associated with some internet angry guy, you know, and that's the fear, theoretically, because it's I've only heard a few instances of this happening, where companies explicitly say they're not gonna advertise on some platform because of, you know angry people or whatever, or like people they don't agree with online. Um, so that's always the fear. That's the corpo fear, you know.
In terms of singularity, w- social media, YouTube, and everything. we have entered a new singularity of a way of censorship. Then
Yeah, exactly true. Yeah, yeah, because this is this is a type of censorship that's like not really, it hasn't really happened before. And the only other parallel we have to it is like religion, where people, Catholic or Protestant, where people, because God is watching, they change their behavior. I'm sure in Islam it's the same as well, because God is watching, all
yeah,
seeing. You like don't do certain things. It's similar to that, and then but it's completely technological and completely, because it's also random. I've seen channels get censored and get suspended that you would not expect. The most like the most softball, lovable, whatever, vanilla, inoffensive channels sometimes get destroyed online because one video, and like suddenly they're suspended or whatever, you know, that kind of stuff. Um, so it's like, because of its randomness, uh, or seemingly it's random, people start changing their behavior because they don't know where it's coming from. So they like start, oh, so I have to watch out here, watch out there, because I think. So it's a very religious type of behavior. You know what I mean? Which is actually perfect for these corpos, because they could just kind of, it's minimum effort for them, because just the threat of having your channel destroyed because you say the wrong word, it's like, it gives them so much power, so much, they could do so much with that without lifting a finger. All you know it could be that on YouTube the algorithm doesn't even exist in the way people think it does, that it doesn't even do what it people think it does. That's possible, because YouTube doesn't say what the algorithm says. That's also a thing. That's also one
it's
of these
their
other.
recipe.
Yeah, that's also one of the other things these companies do. They don't tell you what. Uh, uh, they don't tell you how they moderate. They don't tell you their rules of moderation. That's also another thing, because they say if you know the rules, people can game the system. I've seen corpos say that before, but it's like completely backwards to like how normal things work, because when you look at laws set forth by the government, people are required to know the law. And the law is written in the books, and you can look the laws up. You can find exactly what the law says or whatever. And when you get arrested and you're like, I don't know about that law, it's like, and the cop is like, no, you're required to know the law, so whatever. You're getting arrested anyway. It doesn't matter. That's a thing they say. So but when your account gets suspended or banned or whatever, a lot of times the corpos are like, you broke our let's say Twitch is like, you broke our trust and safety rules. And when you ask what did I exactly break, we can't tell you, we're not gonna tell you, but you just broke the rules. You don't know what you did. You don't know what it is. A lot of times, so a lot of times people are like, okay, what the fuck. All you know is it was this video or this live stream or whatever, somewhere in there you said something that broke the trust and safety rules or whatever they call it. Also, they love that newspeak shit, trust and safety. Like, yeah, real great, real good newspeak shit.
Hey, listeners, if you have any experience of this, or we are also very curious of what you think of this. Please let us know in the comments below.
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm pretty sure most of our listeners have either seen or heard of this type of stuff happening before.
Definitely.
So it's like, it's very random. They don't tell you exactly, because
Yeah.
the algorithm works in mysterious ways.
And
Just
also
like
it's so obvious especially in shorts. You see, I mean, if they use AI tool for text over speech over text, right?
yeah,
You will see obviously how they censor their word for corn, for
yeah,
example.
exactly. Corn is a
So it is
popular
in
one.
your
Yeah,
it
exactly.
is in your
Yeah,
face actually.
yeah, exactly. It's corn, unalive. You say all these weird things. It's pretty
So
obvious.
yeah, you replace the words even though we all know the words mean the
Yeah,
same.
yeah, exactly. So it's
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 actually a
it's
waste of breath. But this is how
yeah,
language gets evolved, right?
yeah. It also evolves language. Exactly. It does evolve language. But it kind of accelerated language evolution in this kind of way. That's why you have like Zoomers have this weird way of talking these days, like the skibidi toilet, Riz, whatever, Gyat, all this stuff, you know, phantom text, all these weird whatever they say, you know, uh,
Yeah, you data streamer
yeah,
hammering too much, ranting too much is being too much in my aura.
yeah, oh yeah, exactly, yeah, exactly, that kind of stuff. Um, that's like the evolution of words online and the youth thinking of new words. The youth always thinks of new words. They always try to act cooler than the adults don't know these words. I'm like, man, these
We've
kids,
been
man.
young.
I mean,
We
what do
had
you?
our own slang.
They, they actually think they're unique. It's like like, dude, all kids do this crap. You think you're unique? Get out of here with your crap. But whatever. Go play on the playground. It's like whatever. That's the funny thing about that kind of stuff. But of course, the kids do it because they want to be like unique. They want to like rebel against their adults, the adults or whatever. But with the added influence of the corpo overlords, you get like this crazy acceleration of words changing. You know.
How do like younger generations how are they displayed in cyberpunk media? Do they have this dynamic as well?
Almost never. I have yet to see.
I mean, children or younger generations is not, almost never like really in the picture in cyberpunk. Don't you think it's
I
interesting?
I
I
have.
mean, there are kids walking around in cyberpunk 2077.
They are, yeah. Usually they're like kind of like street kids, just running around, whatever, doing petty theft or whatever. They are usually not in the picture because they just aren't. I don't know. The closest thing that I could think of is the movie Hackers. I mean, hackers with like the Zero Cool and whatever, and Crash Override and Serial Killer. Those guys. Um, that's the closest thing I can think. But those guys are in high school, and they're like these hacker kids, and they're like this big corpos coming after them because of the worm or whatever. They found the worm that was like taking money from
A
corpo
worm?
transaction. Yeah, it's like this big algorithmic AI robot that was like um, skimming money from corpo transactions
Oh,
and was
oh,
like sending him to say, you've seen Hackers, right?
no.
No, you have seen. Okay, we have to see that one. But that's like the only cyberpunk movie where the main characters are kids. They're like high schoolers, but they're like kind of like, well, they're like 18-year-old high schoolers. Let's put it this way. They're just barely adults, but then some of them are definitely kids. I mean, half of them live with their mothers and whatever. So it's like they go to high school, So it's like it's that's the only one I know where it's like kids. Oh, and maybe Ready Player One. I
Oh
have
yeah.
I
Oh whoa.
actually
Yeah, yeah.
I
Whoa.
actually don't know the age of the protagonist. I don't remember
But I mean,
hearing it.
it's
He
the
does live with
concept
his
is there.
mom.
Yeah, and the concept is playing video games, but in
Yeah,
VR. And it is, in a way, it is cyberpunk because,
it's a cyberpunk story. Definitely, it
right?
has all the hallmarks of a cyberpunk story. Uh,
Okay,
but
so the younger generations are just they are virtual reality,
yeah, I mean,
and that's the thing, right?
Hackers
Wait,
has
the
virtual reality as well.
yeah, but and if, a good example, if you go into VR chat,
Yeah,
most of the players you hear they were children.
Yeah. They're children. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's hilarious because VR chat is full of the most degenerate shit you can find on the internet. Especially since we these days we have the full body tracking suits.
Oh yeah.
So all these women there are like completely degenerate. They're like completely like
Yeah.
displaying everything, and all these kids are just in there like hey whatever. Um, so yeah, that's VR chat is there's a lot of children. Yeah,
I mean, I'm always comparing VR chat with Ready Player One. I think it's so close
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's
because
it's very close
this,
because
there are so many uh, play,
yeah,
player created content. You can just play random games, meet up people. That's the first thing I thought about when I was watching the movie Ready Player One. I thought, whoa, I recognize this stuff. Oh,
yeah,
it's I experienced this in VR chat. This is when I bought
yeah,
my first Oculus Rift, by the way.
exactly. So it's pretty funny how that's all like very similar to what it's. I mean, of course, they had the book is from like 2013, 2011. That's when the book came out,
Uh-huh.
or maybe 2010. So there was already some thought into it about the so it's kind of like it's not fully it's like kind of already based on what happens in real life somewhat. And then of course when the movie came out, it was completely they had a lot of time with VR chat and all that kind of stuff to like
Even there in
base
Ready
the movie on.
Player One, there is this powerful, unseen force, right? The algorithm
Yeah,
coming
yeah,
again in this story.
yeah, yeah. There's always the algorithm, the all seeing, all powerful thing. It's
I
always
am
there.
wondering, by the way, in Cyberpunk 2077,
Yeah,
the I mean, they are using biomechanics, brain plants.
yeah.
Did
Cybernetics.
those cybernetics? Thank you. I I forgot the word. But the cybernetics, was that causing ways of censorship as well?
I don't remember a
Because I
story
can
saying it
imagine if
explicitly.
I can imagine that if you have this yeah, the cybernetic in your brain, that j- yeah.
Yeah, you could say the corpo was changing the way you think. Possibly, they didn't say it explicitly. Although when you do the corpo route, they do show that the Arasaka could turn off your cybernetics remotely. So
Whoa.
that also was a thing. And also they did it. They also did it to Takemura when he got fired. They just turned off his cybernetics. That's a way to do it, but they never really say that. Oh, because they got this chip implanted there, they were controlled by who knows who, where, or whatever. They never said that explicitly. Although uh, for the sale and adoption of those devices and products, it would be really bad if it came out that the corpo could control you some way if you install them. That would probably destroy the company because people don't want to do that. you know, people don't want some shit in their head messing with the way they think. So I think if those products ever become a reality,
Well,
they
one
would.
is right.
Yeah. We have
Uh,
these kinds of products now, rudimentary versions, but we have them now.
what
But
was the name
if
of
they ever
Elon
become
Musk?
an actual Neuralink,
Exactly.
but there's also prosthetic arms and legs that are pretty much cybernetic, the way the that are
And
cybernetic in the way that the you see in cyberpunk media. Those
and
already
it's
exist.
and it's just a matter of time that also the prosthetic arms and legs become online and smart and everything, right?
Yeah, yeah, and that's when you have the issues of like the corpo censorship and the corpos determining what you do, because like we said in previous episodes, they already do that with cars. With these cars that are online, they can like suddenly like turn off your heating and say you have to pay extra for heating or that whatever, that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
that's just because the car is online, and then they can suddenly do that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
So
like the Tesla having like DLCs because
yeah, exactly.
so you
DLC on
can
a
pay
car.
for
Also,
extra features
yeah,
even though the features
yeah,
are already inside of the car.
Yeah, the devices that run the features are in the car, but they're just turned off. So you have to pay extra to turn. It's like the most corpo bullshit ever. You know what I mean? And it's like it's kind of crazy how we're heading into this direction. Um, and it's like there's very little people can do. It's really weird because these companies all they respond to is if they sell the car or not, and these cars are sold. So, but the problem, so the thing is, if these prosthetic limbs, cybernetic prosthetics, start out with this kind of internet-enabled corporal censorship, then the technology might not take off because people are not in the mood for that kind of stuff. But if they sneak it in like with cars, like for the first few generations don't have it, and then later on, yeah, then they could probably do it. Yeah,
Yeah. And on that note,
yeah.
dear listeners and viewers, please let us know what your experience is in this topic. We are looking forward um, for your opinion. And by the way, we do have a Discord channel. We will add it. We will add the link in the description below. Join our Discord server. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And we will see you in the next episode of the Cyber Loyalists. Thank you for listening.
Yes, thank you for listening.
Bye bye.